18 years ago, a pretty surprising thing happened to me that often pops into my brain, and I wanted to share this little story because I think it's one of the coolest, most unique examples that I've ever seen of someone building a relationship, whether it's with your audience, whether it's with your colleagues, whether it's with your friends, or in this case, with a competitor. So what happened? Well, back in 2006, I used to work at a company called Open Advantage. And my boss there was this awesome guy called Paul Cooper. He wasn't just a boss, he was just a really great friend as well. Now, on my last day at Open Advantage, before I left to go to Canonical to build the Ubuntu community, I accidentally left my jacket at the Open Advantage office. So Paul did what any good boss would do, and he sent me some emails and some text messages just saying, hey, just a reminder, your jacket's at the office, you should swing by and grab it, and also maybe we can go grab lunch and catch up, right? But my new job at Canonical building the Ubuntu community was crazy busy. I was traveling a whole bunch and I just didn't have a chance to go over and pick up the jacket. So after about 3 months of Paul very patiently, very kindly sending me these reminders, he finally gives up, right? And he does what any good friend would do, and he eBayed my jacket, right? And it was, one jacket, lightly used, owned by Jono Bacon. And it was obviously a joke. He thought it was quite funny. I thought it was quite funny. Brilliant, right? Paul then sends me, a couple of weeks later, a somewhat dumbfounded email saying, you'll never guess what happened, but someone bought your stupid jacket off of eBay. And we were both really quite surprised why anyone would buy it. It wasn't even a nice jacket, right? 3 weeks after that, a package appears on my doorstep. And lo and behold, my jacket's in there. And there is a single lined piece of paper with a handwritten note. Now, for this to make sense, I need to share a little bit of context here. I mentioned that I went to Canonical to build the Ubuntu community. Well, our primary competitor at that time was a company called Red Hat, and they had their own version, their own equivalent to Ubuntu called Fedora. The guy who was the project leader for Fedora was this guy called Max Spevak, who was, for all intents and purposes, my competitor in our industry. Now, as you might guess, Max Spevak went to eBay, found the jacket, bought the jacket, and shipped it to my house. And in the package, this note said, thought you might want to have your jacket back. By the way, love and respect the work that you do. Keep up the great work. Kind regards, Max. And I was absolutely blown away by this gesture. Not just because it demonstrated a level of kindness that you don't normally see in most people, not only because he was a competitor and he almost certainly spent either his own money or he spent Red Hat's money to buy this jacket and ship it across, but it also just really was a different and unique approach to building a relationship. It was incredibly authentic. It was incredibly heartfelt. And 18 years later, I still think about that. And it completely rewired the way in which I look at Max and also just how I looked at Red Hat and how he built his team. So when you're thinking about building engagement with your audience, when you're thinking about how to build relationships, think outside the box. Think about how Max approached this particular situation, and it generates all kinds of creative, interesting ideas for how we can reach out and build interesting relationships and interesting engagement with people we care about, okay? Now, if you also want to check out another really neat example of building cool engagement, you should absolutely check out this video over here, where I tell the story of how GitLab built their global community. It's a really pretty remarkable story. And they also completely just changed the game on what's normal in how you build engagement. I mean, one example being a 2,000-page open handbook for how that company operated. Which other company would do that? Well, you can find out more about that